thinking about tabletop games again, and I'm real sad I didn't get to die last Tuesday. What a waste! Your scarred vessel comes to beg once more. You will never pry the subscribe button from the clutches of its rightful owner. I, podcaster Cole, have ascended, and the podcast salutes me. You will die a lifetime, an eternity, a universe of deaths before you are blessed by the endlessness of this place, this paradise. I will never close an eye to the gift that is the podcast, even as my flesh hardens. A wall of bone awaits my joining.
Welcome to the podcast. I'm Melina.
I'm Peter.
I'm Cole.
I think you mean podcaster Cole.
No. I got possessed back there. I don't know what the fuck that was.
I don't know either, but it was a great introduction. Hi, everyone. How you doing? So you remember how last time we talked about Warframe? Well, we didn't actually get to finish talking about Warframe, so we're talking about it more now, I guess.
Welcome to the additional 2 hours about Warframe, probably. Oh. We were at the end of the War Within, where you make a decision, and that decision brings up a voice line of a weird, crazy, echoey voice talking to you, calling you familial terms, being kind of a freak.
Yeah.
The hell was that? You find out pretty quickly.
The next quest, Chains of Harrow.
Chains of Harrow. Technically.
Chains of Harrow is more or less just a side quest.
It is required, but it's not considered like a main cinematic quest because there are not like big cutscenes in it.
Yeah. But it does have some story relevance, primarily at the end, where you
We'll cover the beginning a little bit because that's sort of important.
Fair enough.
You get a distress call from one of the people that you can work with, and you go there to check it out. Everything's weird and freaky. It's all pitch dark. Can't see a fucking thing. You hear some weird voices in your head going rap, tap, tap, and shit starts freaking out. You escort a woman out of there, and you find out that this faction a long time ago developed essentially like a religious order around yourself, the Tenno, not just you specifically, but like the whole
around you.
past
Yes,
you're a part
you.
of.
Specifically you. No one else.
Actually, specifically not you.
Oh.
A boy named Rel, who is keeping something back. It's being referred to currently as the man in the wall. The Lotus confers to you a little bit about this. She's like, yeah, Margulis was pretty sure that it was just void sickness, and I agree with her. I think it's just like hallucinations and things. And the woman that you rescue from that ship is like, no, it's like some real fucking weird shit, actually. There's like a guy there. Rel saw him. And you go through this big long chain of events where you're essentially collecting like fractured bits of Rel's consciousness to try and put back together after he exploded his brain from the stress of whatever it is that he was keeping back. And at the very end, you descend into the holy chamber where Rel's Warframe was kept, who is Harrow, and it is chained up. That's why the quest is called Chains of Harrow.
Holy shit.
Name drop.
Roll
you
credits.
interact with it, and the woman that you rescued from that ship is like, hey, that's not Rel. Something else has like taken his shape and is fucking with you. So you break all the chains, you fight the thing off, you get the Harrow blueprint to build the Harrow Warframe. And that lady is then like, hey, so Rel was single-handedly keeping it back before for a long time. He didn't get to go into the cryosleep, that all the rest of the Tenno did, because he was autistic and the other children were extremely ableist or something.
Well, okay, specifically, yes, he was shunned by the rest of the Tenno because, yeah, ableism or something. I don't know. But also,
This is not the plot's greatest bit of storytelling.
but also, Rel was aware of the man in the wall before the cryosleep and willingly did not go into cryosleep to basically figure out what the fuck it was.
And also to keep him back, he was apparently very self-sacrificing.
Yes.
So since Rel did not have the cryosleep, he engaged in like a permanent transference cycle with his Warframe until his mind exploded. So he's dead now, but hey, now it's up to all of the Tenno together to try and keep the man in the wall at bay. And when you return to your orbiter after that quest and you turn around and you look at your fucking console, you see a mirror copy of yourself with freaky golden eyes looking at you. It says, "Hey, kiddo," and then it disappears.
And then the quest ends.
And then the quest ends. Congratulations, you're now haunted.
Yay!
From this point onwards, there is a random chance that the man in the wall, using your appearance, the appearance of your operator, will just show up in your orbiter, say some weird shit to you. Almost always, "Hey, kiddo." There's a few moments in some other quests where you have like random chance for him to show up and say some other things.
What is up, my fellow kid?
Yeah, basically.
And then fucking vanish. And that's Chains of Harrow. A lot of people report being genuinely afraid over the course of Chains of Harrow, and I have to say, as the primeval coward, I didn't get scared once. I got uncomfortable because the rap tap tap whispers that happen at various points in it do like binaural things that I go between if you're wearing headphones that I go from one side to the other, and it does sound like there's a guy right behind you. But it never actually
standing right
scared me.
behind me,
Bizarre.
He's right behind me, isn't he?
Right behind me. The man in the wall grabs you.
Pulls you into the wall.
It's funny you say that.
Your character then says he's right behind me, isn't he? And then
What is after Chains of Harrow immediately?
It is Apostasy Prologue.
Oh, we're there already.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's great, because that means the sacrifice is right after.
Yes, it is.
Ah, the snacrifice.
The one.
It's part ritual, part hungry.
You know how you buy snacks for us when we do the games at your house?
Uh-huh.
That's a snacrifice. The snacks keep all of us sated so that bad things are kept away.
I don't need snacks to keep y'all from doing bad shit, trust me. If you do not take the carrot, I will use the stick.
It's an important ritual in tabletop gaming. Even if it doesn't necessarily do anything, it's important still to maintain the tradition.
I'm gonna get like one bag of chips. I'm gonna put it in the middle of the floor. I'm gonna be like,
Where
fight for it.
a single like little sandwich bag of chips.
Yes.
I just put it in the middle of the table.
Yes. No, not at the table, the floor. There is no table.
Oh, there is no table here.
No.
Okay. That sucks.
Not in this scenario, there's not.
Put it on the floor. Everyone has to scramble for it.
Yes.
Except for me.
No.
No, I'm not. I'm not gonna scramble. I don't really like chips that much.
I'm gonna get one cheesy breadstick.
What?
And put it up.
No.
And when you ask where did the other ones go, I know you can't just buy one of them. I'll go. I ate them all before you got here.
And that's the beginning of Cole's villain arc.
My villain arc would be wildly disappointing.
It's gonna be one glass of chocolate milk.
Yeah, you just need something else, right, to bring the peace back.
Why would you want peace? What there? You could just have chaos.
I only desire
want
chaos in
peace.
fiction.
I want
Real
problems.
Apostasy prologue.
What?
Apostasy prologue. Do you know what an apostate is? I take your deafening silence as a no.
Uh-huh.
It's someone who essentially like turns their back on a creed or religion.
And so apostasy is, the act of
Ah.
betraying a creed.
I didn't realize it created a creed of snackage.
It's important.
It's important. I guess it is. I guess so.
Apostasy prologue. I forget exactly how it starts, but I distinctly remember how it ends.
Yes.
It's a purely cinematic quest. You don't actually do anything in it. You just watch a short cutscene and it's over.
Yeah.
You did it. You won the video game. Congrats.
Well, I guess it is important to recall what happened at the end of the War Within.
Second Dream and the War Within.
Oh no.
Right.
Right. No, never mind. It starts with the
It starts with a strange Warframe howling at the moon.
Too far.
I'm sorry?
Is that too far?
Yeah, that's the sacrifice.
No, doesn't Apostasy Prologue begin with that?
No, that is the sacrifice that starts with that.
Man. I fully forgot what's actually in Apostasy Prologue then.
Apostasy Prologue starts with you being
oh, that's right.
By something in your personal quarters.
Yeah, I forgot. I remember now. God, I forgot about this.
Yeah, it's a very easy to forget quest.
It's actually not just one cinematic. You do actually move and go places.
Oh my god.
Specifically, I believe you go to the reservoir, right?
Yeah, you do. Yeah, you should recall what happens at the end of the second dream, where you overhear two people, Margulis and Valis, talking. Margulis is the original Orokin woman who was essentially responsible for taking care of the Tenno, trying to understand them and their weird space powers after the void jump incident was a complete and total disaster.
Yeah, it basically just, providing any kind of therapy to them, because God knows they fucking need it.
I think technically Margulis wasn't supposed to be doing therapy. I think she was just supposed to be studying the Tenno. But she was like a nice person.
Fine, I'll be your therapist. Get on the couch.
Fine, I'll be your therapist and your adoptive mother. And she did eventually get executed for continuing to defend the Tenno after one of them had an outburst that had hurt people.
Mm. Dang.
But yeah, no, you end up interacting with something in your room on your orbiter, being transported to the reservoir, and yeah, you experience Margulis's final moments, and then
You experience Palace pleading with her to just renounce the Tenno so she can live.
yes, and then after that whole vision is over, you see actual Ballas, and he's taking away the Lotus.
Yeah, you descend into the depths of the reservoir, or you approach the capsule where the Lotus sits in, and you walk up to her, and she isn't reacting like she can see you, and then Ballas walks up from behind you, and she's talking to him, and it's like you're not even there. Yeah, big arm ball ass just shows up. Like with a single wave of his hand, all the wires disconnect from the Lotus, and he just like picks her up and is like, "Wow, hey, let's go." You were
Wow.
the spitting image of my dead wife.
What is... Wow. Anyway.
And then the quest ends.
And then the quest ends.
Then the quest.
From this point on in the game, you don't have the Lotus anymore, and she's canonically from this point forwards replaced by a like synthesis of all of the things that she excuse me, all the things that she said that Ortis makes. He makes like a temporary hologram Lotus. She is very purple.
Horrible.
Congratulations, you've lost your mother again.
Yay.
For like the third time, actually, because the Tenno's original parents, and then Margulis, and now the Lotus.
Woo.
In other words, you just can't catch a fucking break.
Yeah. Then the sacrifice happens.
And the sacrifice is a lot of people's favorite quest. For a reason.
Good
It's pretty
reason.
good.
You get to
It's
sacrifice
pretty
someone?
great. It established a lot of lore that is like really good and important, and like it's very emotional as well.
And also, it's just a really cool quest.
Nice.
And this is the one that starts with a Warframe howling at the moon.
A weird looking Warframe howling at the moon. I say weird because it's has a scarf. And most Warframes, at least in their base forms up until this point, without any like skins on them, don't have clothes.
Hmm.
They don't have much of anything in terms of accessories.
No, they just look like armor for the most part. Most of them, at least. There are several exceptions, shall we say. Look said Zaku. That's fine. They released after the sacrifice came out, so.
But I remember the sacrifice much less than you, much less clearly than you do.
I've replayed the sacrifice 5 times. And the fight. No, there's actually a really funny story here. So I first started playing Warframe on the PC, and then at some point I went to the Nintendo Switch version because I needed the portability. But there wasn't account merging or cross save back then, so I had to make a new account, which I did. And then I made what I felt was a wrong decision at the end of a quest, and I couldn't undo it. So I made a third account.
Oh my god.
I think actually then I've played the sacrifice 6 times because I replayed it I think at least once on each of those. So it's engraved in my memory. So the a lone Warframe howling at the moon. He's wearing a scarf, which is neat, but other than that, he looks basically almost identical to Excalibur. Ballas shows up out of nowhere, mocks the guy, who then goes to try and stab him with his like sick katana that he has. But he is unable to because of reasons that will make sense later in the quest. Ballas makes fun of him again, and then 2 sentients deploy and shoot him, and he manages to kill them. And then another mysterious sentient lands, bigger than the other 2, and mega shoots him, and he explodes.
Super duper shoots him big time.
An even bigger sentient with even bigger hongalongus nonalongus. Oh, that joke's actually going to pay dividends.
Actually, it's not going to pay anything at all. We're doing this for free.
In humor, in funny.
Yeah, as we all, as you know, we only accept payment in the form of ha-has.
It'll pay dividends in jingle jangle jester bucks.
Y'all better laugh a lot. This is how.
Okay,
This is
it'll
how
make
we live.
me laugh a lot internally, if nothing else.
Yeah.
I'll pay myself dividends and laughter.
I'm self-employed. This sounds funny.
I'm self-employed with glee.
With glee and
with glee and whimsy. Wow, the economy must be in shambles. The glee and whimsy economy is crumbling underneath us. Remember to like and subscribe for more glee and whimsy.
This is so sad. Can we get to 300 likes?
This is so sad. Alexa, play Trope Troupe podcast.
Play Trope Troupe podcast, Sad Clown Edition.
Sad Clown Edition.
Pagliacci version.
Oh my goodness.
He gets exploded, and then we cut back to your orbiter. Ortis informs you that he's detected some kind of like old war signal, like a sentient pulse maybe on Earth. So you go there, and you find that exact, I suppose, crime scene.
Don't you mean Lua?
No, you don't go to Lua yet.
You don't?
No, you have to go to where that Warframe exploded, and you scan all its bits.
Yeah, I thought that was on Lua.
No, it's on Earth because it's on Earth. He howls at the moon. How can he howl at the moon and be on the moon?
Earth has 2 moons.
Earth has 2 moons. Not in Warframe, it doesn't.
I don't know why you said not in Warframe like it has 2 moons in real life.
You could care less about if Earth has 2 moons in real life. We're not talking about that. Real world lore doesn't matter. History? What's that?
Never heard of it. Sounds
Some
tasty though.
shit for nerds. Anyway, more about video games.
Now for me to talk for 2 hours about this one game. unlike those nerds over there.
You go to that place on Earth where it exploded, you scan all that Warframe's pieces, Ordis is like, hey, we can reconstruct this in the orbiter now. If you like pick all these bits up, we can rebuild him better, faster, stronger.
And so you do that.
So you do that. You build a new Warframe. It takes like a minute because you're not building a full Warframe. You are reconstructing one from the pieces that you scavenged. Anyway, you go to your equip menu and you go to equip it, and it freaks the fuck out. Fully surges out of your control. Rushes forward in your orbiter, forcibly ejects you out of it.
And then tries to kill you.
And then almost tries to kill you. It's like dragging you up by the neck. You may be suffocating a little bit, and you stare into its eye because it has an eye. Yeah, all the Warframes up until this point, they look like complete suits of armor, and none of them have like visible eyes or mouths or anything. So, although like you can kind of surmise that some of them have a biological component, maybe, and that obviously Warframe and Operator are separate, as you learn in the second dream in the New War. Not the New War, that comes way, way, way later. Second dream in the War Within. You learn, of course, that the Warframe is not an independent being. It is a thing that you are remote controlling. And in the War Within, you gain the ability to essentially translocate to where your Warframe is from the orbiter. But this guy just moves on his own, fully by itself. And the helmet breaks open and it stares at you with a blind, milky eye and like horrific diseased flesh.
Yeah. Imagine if you were looking at human flesh, medium rare.
It doesn't exactly look like burns. It does just look like decay.
Sorry, not medium rare. Rare.
Rare is in the sense you'll never see a living person look like this, probably.
Yeah.
The Warframe escapes. And then you're like, I gotta go after that guy. I think I saw some of its memories. I gotta go after it. This is the only link that we have to Ballas. So we're going for it. And then you go to Lua, because it's your only clue, because on the Earth you did scan a piece of its sword, and that sword is made of minerals from the moon / Lua. So you go to the moon. You do a whole fucking like cipher thing where you have to like find codes and input them into a machine. It's kind of tedious and a little boring. I never liked this part of the quest. It's a cool puzzle the first time, and then like every time you want to do it afterwards, I'd just rather put my hand on a hot stove.
It's not that bad.
No, but it is faster to put my hand on a hot stove.
I can't disagree with that.
See you watch, I'll do it right now.
Watch, I'm gonna go do it right now. I'm gonna record it on my phone. I'll send it to Alina, and we'll put it in the video.
No.
You basically are like breaking into a secret lab, and as you're doing it, you are getting kind of hounded by sentients. Not the usual sentients that you fought every now and again before, but sentient mimics. They look like any item that could be in the thing. Almost any destructible thing, any asset that they can conceivably put in a location could be a mimic. And also other sentients come in at other points in time, but it's mostly mimics. We touched on this very briefly before, but sentients have this fucked up game mechanic where they gain resistance to the damage that you do to them, over time. The more you hit them with that damage, the more resistant they become to it. It's never to the point where they're entirely immune to that damage, but they can be like 80%, 90% resistant to it. You can clear those resistances by hitting them with your operator's attack, the Void Beam, which clears their resistances because they are weak to the Void. It's just a neat gameplay loop thing. It's a little cumbersome because switching between operator and Warframe is a little cumbersome. You have to like hit 5 on the keyboard or like hold left bumper and hit right bumper on controller. So like it's not the easiest ever, but they're trying to make improvements to make it smoother. I trust them. And it is a little smoother now. You switch back automatically to your Warframe when you hit melee in operator mode, which does make switching back easier. You fight off all those sentients, you get into the secret lab, you find a thing called a Vitruvian. But you can only see like the first outer layer of it, which is from Ballas addressing someone. And it's like, okay, well, this is clearly good information. Let's take it back to the orbiter. You do bring it back to the orbiter, and Orbiter says, like, hey, I don't know if we should install this in me. I think it might fuck me up. And you're like, I'm sorry, Ordis, we gotta see what's in this thing. So you install it into Ordis, and the whole ship shuts down for a good few seconds. And as Ordis wakes back up and recalibrates, he speaks in a really weird manner and is calling you things like Star Child and is entirely devoid of any of the like emotion he's had up until this point. This is presumably what Ordis was initially designed to be like before he got like broken back in the old war.
We got rebooted.
And so, armed with this Vitruvian and the idea that you did see some of these symbols when you connected to that Warframe before, some of the symbols that are in the Vitruvian. So maybe the key to the Vitruvian lies in that Warframe's mind. And so weird freaky Ordis is able to actually try and locate that Warframe by like analyzing like distress channels basically, because this guy's just going on a rip-roaring rampage across the system.
What if instead of Ordis, his name was Freaktus, and instead of building things in the foundry, he built toes?
Peter, I hate to hand you this. It's your letter of resignation.
I was about to leave. Call on my own, don't worry.
No.
I know it, I'm not wanted.
Oh, you're wanted, stay. I'd have to rearrange the caricatures if you
I'm just laughing at that. Yes. Yeah. So you go after this weird Warframe. Keeps leaving a giant trail of bodies in its wake. That's horrible. That's fucked up. Only I'm allowed to do colossal amounts of war crimes.
Yeah, but that Warframe is soon to be you, so like.
You right. Come here.
Think of it as a down payment.
You do end up fighting this Warframe, this thing is called Excalibur Umbra, it turns out. You fight him a lot. You fight him a few different times. You have to stun him using your Void Sling. You have to Void Sling through him, and then you can try and transfer into that Warframe. And each time you do, you see some more of what seem to be memories from it. In this memory, the man whose perspective you are seeing and Ballas are playing a game of Comey, which is it's like Go. It's basically Go. Ballas commends its heroism, Points at a painting. You look at it. You see one of the Vitruvian symbols pop up. There's also the man's son there. His name is Isa. Ballas asks Isa if he will follow in his father's footsteps. Apparently, the man whose perspective you're in was a Dax soldier. He's been injured? ? In the course of the war. He is so heavily wrapped up that he actually can't even talk right now. He can just make muffled screaming. As you play the game of Comey, and Ballas Ballas does eventually end up winning, and he is talking to you telepathically. As the man in this memory, he's been fitted with a transference bolt. And Ballas tells him that he is going to become a Warframe, and that
transference bolts are specifically what allowed operators to enter Warframes.
Yeah, or at least in the earlier days.
Yeah.
The use of transference bolts is not necessary for Warframes in the current age. This transference bolt also actually lends Ballas a little bit of a telepathic connection, as he makes fun of you and mocks you and says that each piece you lose in Comey will be a child, a grandchild, a lover, as he intends to massacre you and your son and your entire family. Your whole lineage down to the very last. Then you get ejected out of the memory. As you do so, sentients show up. I believe sentients show up, but they have to fight. Maybe that comes later.
I believe so, because you have to fight Umbra multiple times, don't you?
Yeah, you absolutely do. You do manage to escape. You get back to the orbiter, where you look at the Vitruvian, and somehow, Ballas, you find out he's talking to Hunhao, also known as the Lotus's dad, also known as the guy who is like the king sentient, that the Orokin were fighting in the old war. Ballas turned traitor and is spilling to Hunhao the secrets of the Warframes. And we find here in this one that the Warframes are, at least originally, made from human test subjects who are infested with a unique strain of the infestation called the Helminth infestation that renders them extremely powerful and still alive and just barely sane, if sane at all, but also entirely uncontrollable and prone to going on long bouts of extreme violence, especially against the people who transformed them in the first place, because the Orokin are fucking stupid. And for some reason thought that, like, putting people through this horrifically agonizing process would result in, like, a loyal soldier.
I can see it.
What's wrong with you?
My name is Ballas.
My name.
Oh! I thought I killed you.
I lived, bitch.
That sucks. Can you die again?
No. It hurt the first time.
Yeah, I fucking bet that did, actually. You deserved it. Can you die that way a second time? Gotta continue going after Umbra. So you do so. You do that thing again. This is basically just you create a loop of going after Umbra. Sometimes before you find Umbra, you have to trim down the amount of sentience in the area by killing some mimics that show up. But you basically transfer into Umbra, you see an Umbra memory, and then you get a Vitruvian key. Then you go back to the Orbiter, and you see things in the Vitruvian. And that happens like 3 times, I think. In total, including the last one that we did, I'm pretty sure.
I mean, that makes sense. It's the rule of threes and everything.
Yeah, technically the first one is when you first transfer into him on your orbiter for the first time and it nearly kills you. There is a memory then. I accidentally folded it into the second one. Just don't worry about it. We still got all the information from there. You go after him for the third time. In that memory, you progressively, the man you're playing as, progressively has trouble breathing and existing as the infestation continues to go through him. There's a lot of like heavy breathing. Ballas is continuing to beat your ass at Comey, which sucks because I hate Ballas. Isa is trying to like calm the man down. He points to an instrument that he used to play. You see another Vitruvian symbol. Game of COVID keeps going. Ballas monologues like a little shit in your brain, telling you that he had intended to betray the Orc the moment that Margulis died, completely ignoring the fact that he's turning against the very thing that Margulis died for, but who cares about that? He's a piece
He certainly doesn't.
He certainly doesn't. Ballas isn't going to try and like... The way that Ballas repays Margulis for all of her kindness is by turning her like therapy device into a weapon of war.
Yeah, because he's a piece of shit like that.
Yeah. The Ballas is like, you're gonna be a Warframe with a single burning memory, and that will require a sacrifice. And you get kicked out of it. As you come back to, the operator's like panicking about how Ballas is gonna kill him. He's gonna kill your son in order to just like, that's weird. That's not your son. I don't know what you're talking about.
Operator, you're like 15.
Ordis does manage to turn back on his caring precept and comes back to his old personality again.
Oh.
After
I did it.
The next,
I hit the emotion button.
You get the next Vitruvian symbol. You take a look at it. It talks about how the Orokin was keeping all the Zariman survivors in the reservoir and started to use transference to merge Tenno's minds in Warframes. Ballas, in the same thing, sends the coordinates of the reservoir to Hunhow, but also tells him to still be wary of the Tenno monster because they're scary or whatever. Ballas is afraid of a 15-year-old. You next follow...
There's only one thing worse than a murderer: a child. No.
Yes. A child murderer. Not as in one who murders children, but a murderer that is a child.
A murderer that is a child.
Even worse, just a regular child.
Sucks. You were one once.
Yes.
Yeah, but yeah, but I matured since then. I'm no longer the child I once was.
Implies that you are a different child. Does not elaborate.
Perhaps I was once a child. Dark times.
You follow Umbra to Lua / the moon. You show up in this mission by yourself. You don't bring any Warframe with you. Ordis is like, what the fuck are you doing? You're like, it's fine. My Warframe is already here. I put on the like shitty Solid Snake voice for that. That's me doing that.
No, I wish that was in the actual game. That would have been amazing. In no other point in the game. Just at that point in the
just
game.
Right there.
Yeah, just right there.
My Warframe
is already here.
Already here.
Colonel. My new Warframe is already here.
That'd be really dumb. It'd be really dumb and really funny.
Yes.
You go to Lua, you confront the last memory. As you do transference on Umbra this last time, you hear Ballas narrating, and it's talking about how the transference process works. And it's like, we couldn't control the Warframes to save our life, but those weird, fucked up kids from that spaceship accident saw something in them that we couldn't, and somehow tamed those monsters. That's weird. Anyway, I'm xenophobic. The implication.
By the way, I'm horrifically xenophobic. Me, this character that I forgot the name of.
Alice McGee.
Alice McGee. Here for
Big
folks.
Arm Ballas gonna conquer the solar system.
I'm gonna conquer the solar system with the power of xenophobia.
That's just the normal Stellaris playthrough.
The implication here, of course, being that like the Tenno, A being children and B being horribly mistreated themselves, are able to have empathy, something that like high up Orokin society generally lacks. And connect to the Warframes on a fundamental level in that sense, helping them soothe their pain. I think the line is specifically like to see inside the heart of that feral thing and take away its pain.
Heart of my Warframe.
The heart of my frame of war.
Heart of the cards.
Heart of the cards.
Heart of the cards.
Heart of the cards.
We need to get a Yu-Gi-Oh frame now.
We should actually. There should be a card game in Warframe that you can play. If they're not gonna like put the work in to make like Frame Fighter good, or make the long-awaited Conclave 2, we should have a card game. It's not that impossible. I'm pretty sure some of the people on, at least on the dev stream team, have played either Yu-Gi-Oh and or Magic the Gathering, so it's not out of the realm of possibility. Oh, and Hearthstone, actually. I think some of them have played Hearthstone. You see the last memory as Ballas uses the transference bolt to force the man to kill his son Isa. And you help soothe him. You help him get through the pain. You're given a dialogue option here to essentially decide how you approach this horrific memory of being forced to kill your own son against your will. Probably eat him alive or something ridiculous like that.
Yeah, it probably is something ridiculous like that. Probably is exactly that, in fact.
You now gain Excalibur Umbra. Excalibur Umbra is a really good Warframe, actually, especially for fighting sentients, who are now hounding you in droves. You kill them all. And now, you put your goal and Umbra's goal together.
You put your noodles together.
Kill Ballas and get your mom back. You take him to Earth.
Kick store down. Give me back my mommy. Give her back right now.
Where you last saw Ballas, where he last saw Ballas, where Umbra last saw Ballas. It's worth noting, Umbra has a unique passive. I think he has Excalibur's passive ability as well, I think. So, like, not only do swords do bonus damage, but also, when you enter transference mode, and you go into operator mode in the field, and you enter, you go out of the Warframe into your fleshy flesh body, Excalibur Umbra will continue to do things. He is fully mobile and independent of you. no other Warframe is. There is a lore reason that I'm going to cover at the end of the sacrifice. It's not like properly explained anywhere that I can recall, but it's like I think it's obvious, but I keep seeing people be confused about it. So
I clearly see this obvious thing, but you plebs haven't noticed it, so I guess I have to explain it.
it's just I think that it's obvious because I've engaged with media like this my fucking whole life. I mean, like media like Warframe has like suffused my existence. I was born in it, molded by it. By the time I saw the light of another plot line, it was blinding.
Okay, babe.
Yeah.
Didn't realize our viewers were Batman.
You hunt down Balbus to Earth. You kill several sentients. He is standing at like the edge of the arena, covered in like a fucking shield that you can't break, like a little bitch, because he can't fight to save his life because he's a little bitch. Instead, he summons sentients to do the fighting for him, which you handily beat the fuck out of because Umbra specifically is geared to fight sentients. I don't know whose grand idea it was to try and send sentients against the Warframe that eats sentients for breakfast. And his own son, I guess, but that's like neither here nor there.
One of these he eats voluntarily, the other less so.
He you fight them all, and you go to stab Alice after his shield runs out, and he commands Umbra to stop, which he does, because that transference bolt is still in him. But then you pop out of Umbra, and you grab his hand, and you help him stab Ballas right in the fucking, like, liver or something. There's like a pretty decent line here about how it's like, yeah, but he's not alone, and I'm not alone. And anyway, I'm gonna stab you to death.
You piece of human garbage.
Yeah. As Ballas like crumples to the ground, it starts kind of dying a little bit. Who else shows up? But that Warframe, not that Warframe. You got the Warframe from the cutscene already. He's right next to you. He's your best friend now.
I've already got my Warframe.
My Warframe's already here. This Warframe. I've seen it somewhere before.
Get the fuck out of your shadow. You ain't no
What else will show up but the sentient from the first cutscene, the one that exploded him into pieces. And you look up at it, and it's not just any sentient. That's the Lotus. The Lotus has reintegrated herself back into being a sentient. She claims that Ballas has done nothing to her, that she is what she is, that she is Natah, and she picks Ballas up, says that she's going home to her mom, and then leaves, fucks off into the sky.
I'm telling Mom. No!
No! You're supposed to be my mom!
Too fucking bad. I'm getting grandma now.
No!
It is worth noting that the grandma in question has one purpose, and that purpose is to swallow the entire fucking sun.
Yeah, but you don't learn that until way later.
Yeah, but I didn't remember that until after I'd seen a recap of the new war. So like,
Yeah, you always forget that her mom's purpose is to eat the sun, and every time I talk about it with you, you're like, "What?
yeah.
That happened?" Anyway, the lore thing with the Warframes. Umbra is a sapient Warframe. He is fully capable of being independent from you physically, and he can do things without you commanding him to. Your other Warframes can't. Um, it would seem that the first several Warframes that were made in this manner, with infesting people with the Helmet strain, uh, and fitting them with a transference bolt, so that they could be remotely communed with, essentially, via the second dream. And I actually have some decent like lore stuff about the second dream as well, that I think plays into how fucked up Ballas is as a guy. I'll cover that too before we continue on to the prelude to war. Um, and the Railjack initial quest we should also do, I guess.
I guess.
I guess we can briefly talk about. We can. Railjack is a game mode. Done.
Wow.
Yeah.
The the reason why your other Warframes don't have the ability to move on their own is because they're not people. Each Warframe that you build requires a certain amount of like infested bits that you cram in there, and the helmet is a part of your orbiter that essentially processes those bits and it cultures it into the shape of a body, but it isn't actually like based off of a human person at its very core anymore. Because it turns out that if you keep doing that, you run out of bodies eventually. So, like that, I feel like that's pretty clear because each Warframe that you make, it does require infested bits. It requires like nanospores or plastids or other bits. In order to make any neuroptics, you need like neural relays, which are like a cultured infestation. So like it's not using a person as the base anymore. They are just made in the style of people because it is way easier for you to like project your consciousness into something person shaped than it is to project it into something that's not a person shaped like a person. It's also easier to control because, as you see in the beginning of the sacrifice, the operator initially can't do anything with Umbra because he rejects them and makes it so he can't be controlled. And that doesn't happen with any of your other Warframes because they don't have minds. They are just techno-organic puppets. Umbra is entirely unique, seemingly, in the fact that he survived the Old War and did not die that whole time.
I mean, there are other Warframes that did survive the Old War. They just have yet to be found, or died off screen somewhere.
Or died off screen somewhere. And there's other like weird shit going on with Warframes where it's like you will find a Warframe that is referred to by its Warframe name, like Sevagoth, for example. But the implication I feel there is less that it's that Warframe's will and more of the will of the Tenno who was piloting it when all this shit went down.
Yeah.
Roiling around still in there. As for things that make Balance more fucked up, the thing with the second dream, so the second dream is you take the Tenno, who is a traumatized teenager that has gained like weird, horrible, fucked up void powers, and you put them into a cryostasis, and then you project their mind you project their mind into a surrogate body, or you just put them to sleep, and within the dream they can control themselves easier. The idea initially, I believe, from Margulis was that they put them in the second dream, and then you project their consciousness into a surrogate body, and that allows them to actually like have control to an extent, because the process of the process of dreaming, essentially creates like a theme around the powers instead. And like that's why the Warframe powers are what they are. because each Warframe has a theme, and the Warframe's powers are themed around that theme. And they present the way that they do because they are shaped unconsciously by the dreams of the Tenno, and the void energy that is channeled through that connection. This is used for war by Ballas. He turns them into weapons, gives them tools, and shapes their dreams around war and battle and killing things instead of like therapy. The the idea is that like in their base form, the Tenno's powers were a lot more volatile without the process of the dream, and harmful not just to the people around them but also themselves. And so the idea of the dream is to help soothe their minds and enter a state where they can easily control things. And then
and
Margulis
also impart that calm to the feral warframes, for lack of a better word.
well, that wasn't even an idea at this point in time because that was Ballas's thing. That's what Ballas did. That was his idea, was to connect them to the warframes. Margulis, I think, was just developing, for lack of a better term, vessels, which is a loaded term right now, I know, but not those kinds of capital V vessels that are currently important in the lore that we're not going to talk about because they're post-New War things, and we're just going up to the New War.
Yeah, but when you said unlike those vessels, I just fully expected you to go on a Silk Song rant.
Don't tempt me. I'll do it. I'll do it right now. Do you want to hear?
No, finish the Warframe stuff.
Oh, okay. What's next? Railjack. Railjack is a game mode. You do the Railjack quest. Basically, the sentients are gonna have space forces, so you need a ship that can go into space and fight. You build a warship. There's a fucking AI who you reconstruct who has like trauma from the way that the last crew died because he was ordered to kill them on purpose, and it's like he had conflicting orders, and he has to follow the orders. And it's like, okay, well, I have to follow all the orders I'm given, and my orders are to let my crew die, but also my orders have been to keep my crew alive. The only way to resolve this is to bash my head again into a wall over and over again until I no longer exist.
It's also worth
Anyway,
noting the only other important thing of lore with Railjack is
oh
the
my
fact
god, how
that
could
it
we
is
forget
powered
about this?
by the finger of by a cloned finger of the man in the wall.
Yeah, God, I was intending to loop back to this. Uh, yeah, when you go to Demos, there's several lore tablets you can look at when you rank up with the faction that's on Demos. And they essentially explain how Void discoveries first came to be a thing. There's this guy. He's Albrecht Entrati. He is trying to figure out what the fuck the Void's deal is. He goes in there, using a diving bell. When he gets to the other side, bell sure does fucking explode. He tumbles out of it into a place that looks a lot like his laboratory, but certainly isn't his laboratory. Like if you had just walked through a mirror and everything's reversed. And he sees himself, but it's not himself. He sees a copy of himself, and it looks at him, and it refers to him with a term of endearment from his youth. And then he runs back through the doorway back into the like actual physical world as the him behind him reaches out towards him with a hand that keeps getting bigger and bigger and an arm that keeps extending even as it doesn't walk towards him. And as the rift closes behind him, it cuts off all of its fingers. A few of its fingers. And studying those fingers become the basis for void technology. So the finger that is in the railjack that you get is not actually one of the fingers, I'm pretty sure. I think it is a replica finger.
It is a
Yeah.
cloned.
Or you did say cloned finger, I forgot already. But yeah, that's how that worked. That was the man in the wall. He's a weird guy. Hate that guy. Oh, a great man in the wall interaction that happens after you finish the sacrifice is he can show up and he asks you how you feel, and you say, I feel bad. I feel like I killed Isa. And they just say, good, and then vanishes.
That's intended behavior.
Good.
Yeah. Prelude to Prelude to War. I forget the exact order things go in so much of the time. Right.
It
Chimera
goes
Prologue
oh,
era.
I
Chimera
believe
Prologue
it's
era.
Chimera Prologue era, and then the last one. I don't remember the name
I
of
think the
it.
last one is also just called Prelude to War, actually.
The Maker.
The Maker, right. And they were all put together into the Prelude to War quest. I'm going to be covering each of these and also the ways that they were originally introduced to the game, because after this point, after the sacrifice, we had a several years long build up to the new war.
Specifically, the Prelude to War is Chimera Prologue, the Jovian Concord, which I believe was an event.
Jovian Concord was an event, and I don't think is included in the cinematics.
And then it goes Era, Operation Scarlet Spear, which I know is an event, the Maker, and then Operation Orphix Venom.
Yeah, Operation Scarlet Spear had to do with Era, and Operation Orphix Venom. That was mostly had to do with the Deadlock Protocol, actually.
Oh, fair enough. But that is all 6 parts of the Prelude to War.
Yeah,
that spans over 2-3 years.
Yeah, I think it worked better that way, but obviously you can't force a player to wait a year between quests. That's stupid.
Yeah.
Especially since after the quests are out, you can't force them to wait a year. You can force them to wait a year if the quest doesn't exist yet. It's not really forcing them to do that, though. You're choosing to do that at that point.
Yeah.
The first bit, Prelude to War, is Chimera Prologue. In Chimera Prologue, you see another thing in your personal quarters that you interact with, and it takes you through Lua in operator mode. You get to the reservoir again, and you go down there, and you end up somewhere completely different. You hear Ballas in the distance, rambling to himself, and you slowly void warp forwards over and over again. You have to do a weird little cover thing to essentially hide yourself from his sight. Because as you approach Ballas, you see he's been fucked up. He's ranting about how his perfect death was stolen from him. That his eye is now hers. He's not doing so hot. As he is ranting and as you are staying out of his sight, he is forming a sword behind him out of various pieces. And once they all come together, you rush towards it. You grab it at the same time that he does, and he stares at you and says, "Take this, the idea of it, and use it against her." And then you get flung out of that dream, and you have the Paracesis blueprint. Hooray! The Paracesis is an anti-sentient weapon. It has bonus damage against sentience, to a frankly kind of ridiculous degree. You do have to build it, though, unlike the stuff that you get at the end of the sacrifice, which, I don't know, I think you should just get it, personally, but whatever.
I mean, he does just hand you the Paracesis, so it would make sense for
but you're not physically there, though. You're astral projecting.
I guess that's true.
Also, specifically the way that Ballas is fucked up is that he has sentient pieces fused to him. His legs are mostly replaced. His old flesh leg is dangling out of his new sentient legs. And a whole one of his eyes has been replaced with a full sentient eye. And the implication currently at that moment is that the Lotus / Nata is controlling him and looking through his sight, which is bad. That's bad. You don't want that to be the case. So you get to take the paracesis, and presumably between that, then, and the next several quests, you build the paracesis. It's a great sword. It's a pretty fun, great sword. I think, at least.
I mean, I wouldn't know. I don't fucking have it.
Yeah. I know. Sucks for you. Anyway,
Bruh.
I have 2, I think, actually.
What the fuck?
Yeah, well, from the account merger.
All right.
Huh.
That just means you spent 2,000 ducats on it.
Shut up. Don't remind me. Technically, the Jovian Concord happens next, I suppose. Essentially, the Sentients are trying to overcome their weakness to the Void, and they're doing this by trying to amalgamate themselves with other peoples of the Origin system. It is sort of working. It's also sort of not working. The amalgams still, I think, can't have progeny. They are infertile, I think, still. But they're not weak to the Void. And they are
Correct.
pretty annoying units to fight, but it's not the sort of perfection that the Sentients are going for. But you bet your ass they're going to use them as units in the war anyway. Alad V, who you may remember as the conniving business fuck who briefly helped you in the second dream, is being armed, forced into this deal because the gas city of Jupiter has been beset by the Ropalolist, a unique sentient that can fly and shoot lasers and do all kinds of wacky stuff. After the sacrifice, you do unlock the ability to fight the Ropalolist on Jupiter. I think Jupiter is like one of very few planets that have 2 boss nodes. I think the only other one is like Eris. And I guess Deimos ever since the Nightwave, but whatever.
Yeah, it's not common, that's for sure.
Yeah. You can fight the Ropalolist. During that mission, Nata is rambling at you about some crazy shit that doesn't quite make sense. Talking about seeing the Void's other face. Just weird stuff. Preparing for war. She doesn't seem to really like you all that much now. Yeah, you managed to kill the Ropalolist and technically free Alad from the deal, but because this is a video game, that also simultaneously doesn't happen. So hooray. Technically, the Jovian Concord is associated in the Prelude to War, but it is ultimately, I think, sort of a footnote because the amalgams don't super come back. And also at the same time, it was more of an excuse to redesign Jupiter than it was for anything else.
I mean, that's fair. It does still lead up to
Yeah, it is still important. It's just not like as important as the 3 cinematics are.
Yeah. Speaking of, the next cinematic is Era.
Hurrah! Aurora came out during Operation Scarlet Spear several months later, where in a certain railjack node. Oh fuck! I meant to cover. I think this is really fun. So the main source of transportation between planets in Warframe are the solar rails. And so railjacks are called railjacks because they can travel between planets without using the solar rails. They are jacking the rails. I think that's just a fun name for them. Moving on. There's a railjack node that you can go to. It's a high-level railjack node where there is a chance of a sentient ship spawning called a Murex. Remember that every big sentient is just as alive as all the smaller sentients. We discover here, though, actually, that the Murexes themselves are also dead, or at least like super unconscious. It is either the sheer length of time that has done this to them, or traveling through the void just knocked the consciousness out of them. They are no longer responding, and they have to be piloted, essentially, instead of piloting themselves,
I'm gonna
as
hit
they
you
once
so
would.
hard you will no longer be conscious.
um, the way that you initially saw the Ara cutscene was you would board the Murex with the Paracesis, you would do the little mission thing that's on the Murex, you would get to the end of it, there'd be a big red crystal, you smack that with the Paracesis, and you gain a psychic vision of the past, wherein you see Ara, a big ol' sentient guy, attacking the moon on Lua, seemingly heading to the reservoir to meet up with Nata, who shows up, not Nata, but the Lotus, with a fleet of, like, Tenno outside of their warframes floating behind her, and they all smack Ara with their void beams, seemingly killing him. You then are brought to a vision of the present inside of a different sentient mothership, seeing an alive Ara talking to Nata about the upcoming war. He has Ballas on a leash. Good for him. He belongs there.
No, you mean he belongs 6 million feet under?
Yeah, sure, but for now, I'll fucking settle for keeping him in a state of absolute fucking.
Humiliation.
Yes, that's the word I was. That's the big old word I was reaching for. God, I hate him so much. He claims that Nata is like having memory problems, because she still believes herself to be fighting the Orokin in the old war instead of trying to start a new war. Uh, Ara encourages her to continue to lead the war against the Tenno anyway, implying that her having been submerged in the void for so long has given them something that they never had before, an edge, perhaps. So that's Operation Scarlet Spear and the Jovian Concord. Um, yeah. Now we
And
get to
then
see the Maker.
lastly, there's the Maker, which I don't fucking remember at all.
The Maker's the most ominous one, because it is you mind warp back to the sentient mothership, where Ara is trying to get Nata to figure out that their mom is dead, because Nata thinks that their mom is alive because she is having memory problems, thinks that the old war is still going on. He says that like our mom is dead, but you still have her fire. Um, at which point he starts getting sick of. He starts getting kind of sick of her shit. And she's like, "I could have sworn that you died all the way back then." And he's like, "Okay, enough of this." And he slams her into the core of the mothership, um, seemingly forcing her to like unleash an energy blast of some kind, and she is stuck in a field of energy, telling her to finish the war. He drops Ballas's leash, and Ara and Ballas both stand over Nata as she's forced to do this thing. At
Great.
the same time, Operation Orphix Venom came out. Operation Orphix Venom, I believe, came out at the same time that the Corpus Railjack nodes were added to the map. Um, the Sentients are continuing to attack the Origin system, and they are deploying Orphix units, which block transference signals, meaning that you cannot use their warframes within their fields. This is essentially an excuse to also be using a Necromech in a Railjack mission. When you do the DMS quest, you gain access to Necromechs. Necromechs are essentially almost proto warframes.
They were
They
initially designed to fight in the old war, same as Warframes. but they were found to be just
Expensive.
too clunky overall, I guess.
Yeah, pretty resource intensive to make, very clunky, and it turned out that a single Tenno could do a lot more in a Warframe than in a Necromech.
And a Necromech is basically just a giant, quote-unquote, giant for a human robot. It's like
Yeah.
Pacific Rim, but a lot smaller scale.
a Necromech is maybe like 12 feet tall.
Yeah.
During the actual Operation Orphix Venom, there were codes that would be sent to you in like transmissions over the course of the event that could be decoded to figure out that they are from Nata. Not only do they reveal that she is the one who taught the sentients how to essentially blast out these like Warframe disabling fields, but also it sends out a code that if you put all the bits together spells out, "I am dying."
Oh.
I know we ran through all that fast, and that was like 3-ish years of development. These things happened over the course of years, and it did feel genuinely like a build up to a big fucking event at the time. It is harder to recapture that feeling now. If you go through all of that now, you can just go through them all one after the other and basically almost get right to the new war from the sacrifice.
Yeah.
Personally, if I were you, if you intended to play Warframe, first of all, remember many, 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 many hours.
Oh.
You can't avoid that. Sorry.
What?
Yeah. There's a commitment.
Second, personally, I would recommend between each. I would recommend trying to recreate the flow of things as best as you can. So it's like give a little bit of space
I
between
would say
each.
do Prelude to War over the course of a week,
Yeah,
and then do the new war.
give a little bit of space between each Prelude to War thing, just so that you can feel the ramp up. Because it's nice. I think that services the plot better if you do that. But otherwise, that's all the Warframe things we get to talk about because we're saving the new war to directly compare against the final shape when we get there eventually.
Yes. Destiny 2's final shape, which yeah, I mean they're both very comparable in terms of existing, I guess.
Existing. The final shape is supposed to be the conclusion to Destiny's first big giant plotline, and the new war is the conclusion to Warframe's first big giant plotline. So, for two games that have been occasionally compared to each other, quite often compared to each other, yeah. I figured it would be a good thing to see how they approach these narratives and how they try to desperately stick the landings, I guess. And sort of also how they set up the next plot bits, possibly. Depending. We might not get to all of that.
Yeah. It'll probably just be going over the new war, going over the final shape, comparing the two on a surface level, and then we'll be out of time for the episode.
So much happens in the new war. I feel like comparatively little happens in the final shape.
Yeah, you're right.
Well, yeah, one's a whole war, the other one's just a shape.
Maybe the final shape, like, you can add as many corners as you want, but it's not gonna equal a war.
I draw a space rhombus and conclude.
I draw a space rhombus and conclude. That's it.
I summon a. I play space rhombus in attack position and end my turn. Your move.
I set a space rhombus face down on the field. and end my turn. Your move, Yugi boy.
You fool. You just activated my trap card. War. Go to war. Yep, that's what it does.
You activated my trap card. Draft letter. You can't finish this game now.
For every man that you kill in war, I receive 100 damage to my life points. However, I get to continue playing cards until I run out of cards in my deck. Whoever loses their life points first, loses.
Wait, how does the other player lose life points in this situation, or are you just banking on them getting
You
shot?
just get to take your turn over and over again.
Oh, okay.
So it's like, if that guy can go kill like 10, god, a few very...
Every one soldier you kill is 1 life point.
1 life point. I initially thought of saying 1 life point, and I was like, no, 10's better, and it's like, no, it would be like 100 if this was an actual rule.
Yeah, 100 life points for 1 actual life taken.
Them's the rules in Yu-Gi-Oh!
That does what it do.
That does what it do.
The plot of Destiny, as I understand it, is like sphere versus pyramid.
Yeah, circle good, triangle bad.
Final shape, final.
The final shape is the final triangle.
Are you sure it's not the final circle?
It has a lot to do with the one true circle. We only have the one circle, so it can't really be the final circle.
I'm remembering watching you play the final shape.
Keeping me sane through it.
Yeah, we can use the term sane very, very loose like that, I guess. Having to look up a guide at the very end.
Me beating
Say
the
what you
final
will
shape
about
by solving this math problem in my geometry class.
The final shape is actually fighting against the level geometry.
God wasn't fighting against the level geometry. That shit was terrible.
Why is the terrain
just
Why is the terrain just rhombuses?
You may have caught on at this point, but we don't really like Destiny that much.
Yes. I didn't like it from the very beginning.
And before you get your knickers in a twist, I did play through the entirety of Destiny 2.
I played the beginning of Destiny 1 and nothing else.
And I do own Destiny 1. I never played it. I got it for free.
I think the final straw for me was just like, I'd gotten lost into an area I wasn't supposed to be in because I was too low of a level, kept dying, couldn't figure out how to leave, and I was just kind of like, you know what, this sucks. This game design sucks, I'm sorry. It's just like, I shouldn't be getting lost in areas I'm not even allowed in. How did I get here? And then I went back to playing more Halo.
What time are we at?
2:10.
Okay.
We faffed for over 30 minutes, for like 40 minutes though.
Yeah, but we've already established that this is going to be a shorter episode.
That's fair.
I honestly, I don't know where to go from here. We can keep making jokes.
We can keep making jokes, but this is just like reverse faffing at this point.
I have had ends of episodes be that. Don't underestimate yourselves.
Play the episode in reverse, and
it tells you a secret message.
Yeah.
It lets you know that I am dying.
It tells you to subscribe.
Like and subscribe.
Like and subscribe. And that's exactly how it sounds.
Anyway, I guess we ended the episode now.
I guess y'all got nothing else to say. I definitely have nothing else to say. I have nothing to say.
What are your opinions on the sacrifice?
Sacrificial.
Tell us everything you know in excruciating detail about.
I don't remember the name of them, but they were basically just the flood. That's it. That's my one input on Warframe.
What the dog doing is how I felt when I first got Umbra's passive in the middle of the game and I saw him walking around.